Sawadee. Hello. News on to all the students of Central High School. My name is Brian Talwar, and I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to read my short story, The True Tale of Yer, along with many of my other writings. I appreciate the teachers who've taken the time to try and share these ideas and these stories with you, because it is a very rare thing for many students to see their heritage, their ideas, their imagination reflected in the classrooms. And so this is a very special opportunity for all of us here to try to get to know one another, because I think it is important that as we go through life, you should try to write to the very limits of your imagination, and you should never see a story as just a story, but an opportunity to connect, to get a sense of what we imagine, what we remember, and how we focus those ideas into something that makes it onto a page, onto the screen, occasionally onto the stage. I'm sure that many of you will have many questions after reading this story, but I also want you to know a little bit about it so that we can have a great conversation over time. Feel free to ask any questions that you want in the comment section below this video, or else pass them along to your teacher, and I will try to answer them as well as I can. But to begin with, The True Tale of Yer in particular is a story that is centered on the journey of a young storyteller who begins in Anchorage, Alaska, and then finds themselves in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, that storyteller finds themselves meeting someone who has a very interesting way to change how they view the story of the Hmong community that has been passed on for many centuries, that may change the entire way that they look at that story. And when I wrote that in 2000, this was a story that was coming during the 25th anniversary of the Lao and Hmong and Southeast Asian diaspora, when so many of us, after the end of the war, began to come to America and to many different countries around the world. You can find our communities in France, in Germany, Australia, Canada, French Guiana, and many other locations then. And we were trying to ask that question: what are the things that we want to remember most? What are the stories we want to continue to share and to pass down? What has meaning to us? Where are our traditions? Because you see, at that point in time, there were fewer than 40 books in our own words, on our own terms, talking about our experiences. Many of our students at that time were the first of their families to attend college, to even graduate high school, and so their futures were uncertain, and few of us were taking the time to write down those stories, or even to experiment and to explore what we could share and what we could express. Now, I think the important thing for you to understand is that for me, I am now looking at 30 years since I graduated high school, and that journey has often been one that has been filled with the kind of activities that come into a writer's life. But I began very much like you in a very small town, looking for my own identity, my roots, my sense of self, and that's when I really started to write the most. And so flash forward to about 10 years later from that, and you start to see stories like The True Tale of Yer really coming out and really getting shared with the community and the public. And sometimes you ran into people who understood the story completely, and then you ran into people who had questions, both inside our community and outside of it. And that's one of the wonderful things about literature, is that sometimes the stories don't always have a clear answer, but they start to point to even more interesting questions than the ones that we began with. So I don't want to spend too much time here talking with you right away. You can ask me questions in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. And of course you can also ask your teacher questions as well, and they'll pass them on to me, and between all of us I think we'll try to find something close to a great and amazing answer. But one of the things I want you to understand, that as a writer, it is important for us to write to the very limits of our imagination, and to try to imagine the ways that we might express a future we see ourselves in. Anyway, this year marks the 46th anniversary since the beginning of our journeys around the world, and we have so much more to go. and you will be a part of that journey. Please keep studying hard, ask questions, read the material, and again, don't be afraid to take risks in reaching for something even greater than just what is immediately in front of you, but try to imagine the best ways that you can change and transform the world. Thank you for your time, and I'll try to talk with you a little bit more in the coming weeks ahead. Have a great day.